Welcome back to another episode of Faith Infused Leadership. I am super excited today because I have my new friend Chantel with us. And I met Chantel. A lot of the folks you're going to see in the recent past and in the future are folks that I have met through a international mastermind that I am a part of. And I'm really excited to have Chantel here. She is in Calgary. She is a licensed therapist or a registered therapist, excuse me, in Canada. And she works with a group of people that are near and dear to my heart because I was a youth pastor for about 9 years and really enjoy that teenage kind of, I don't know, what do you call it? That teenage kind of segment in life. And those teenagers keep you young, that's for sure. And so she works with young women. And I'm going to have her introduce herself a little bit, and then we're just going to have a conversation about the important work that she does in the world. So Chantel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. I'm really grateful to be here today. So I am a registered psychologist in Calgary, Alberta. I work as, actually I'm the owner and the founder of Pyramid Psychology, and the purpose of Pyramid Psychology is all about helping teen girls build bulletproof mindsets, which essentially is helping them kind of weather the ups and downs of life. I feel super passionate about this, and I have found this journey thus far to be so fulfilling.
That's so exciting. And your journey in doing this from a private practice has been pretty recent. So tell us about how that started, because I know there's a little bit of a story behind that.
Yeah, well, I come from the world of nonprofit. I really have always found fulfillment in contributing in some way. So I kind of pigeonholed myself into nonprofit because that's, where helpers tend to go. And it's been wonderful. Always worked with youth, always worked with families. When I considered doing private practice, I knew it was going to be with youth. And then as I started to form, who are the people I feel most passionate about, who are the people that I have found myself being most connected to, it was definitely teen girls. And so that is how Pyramid Psychology kind of started.
Yeah. And you just started a year ago, right? Like right as the lockdown happened, not on purpose, you said, but you started your practice right as the lockdown happened in Calgary. So how did you handle that? I mean, being brand new and starting out in a business.
Yes, a lot of it was, being flexible, being creative, relying on my support people, and just trusting the process, like knowing that if I was there and I was putting myself out there in kind of creative ways, so meeting teens for walk and talk sessions, meeting teens online, meeting teens in person once we were allowed to do that again, all of that kind of played a part in making it happen in spite of the pandemic.
And how's it going so far?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I have amazing people that I'm working with in all kinds of different ways, and I absolutely love being in private practice. I feel like I can be the creator of my life, and then I think I show up differently for my clients as well.
Nice. Now, what's the show up differently? What does that mean?
There's just something about being like all in. Like when I was in nonprofits, certainly all in, but in a different way. I was doing things as I needed to, whereas now I'm doing things from a very creative place. So I get to work with my team to decide what kinds of things do we want to put out there. For instance, like the walk and talk therapy, which I have been talking about. I didn't even realize this. I was having coffee with a girlfriend a while ago, and she said, "You talked about this 10 years ago." Wow. I said, "Really? I don't even remember talking about this 10 years ago, but okay." But just this idea of like, I can go on a walk and do my sessions that way. You couldn't necessarily do that within the parameters of nonprofit. Yeah. But in my practice, I can do that. I can think about like, what do teen girls need and how can I make that happen?
That's fantastic. And I know too, like I see the passion, like as you talk about working with the teen girls. Tell us a little bit about why that specific niche, why work with teen girls?
Yeah, you bet. One of the reasons is truly that as a teen myself, I was someone who was extremely shy, had a lot of beliefs that were not serving me about who I was, and I had a few really awesome adults in my life, that supported me, that loved me unconditionally. And I think if it weren't for them, I'd be in a very different place.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that is about kind of a giving back or relating back to my teen self and the struggles that she had, and hoping that I can be part of the journey for other teen girls so that they don't have to necessarily maybe make the same mistakes I did or suffer in the same way as I did, or maybe just have someone kind of shine a light on them in a little bit of a different way so that they can see all the possibilities and capacities that they have.
That's so fantastic, Chantel. And I think about, it was interesting when you were talking about a couple of really awesome adults in your life. I was thinking back and I thought, I feel a lot of gratitude too, that I had some really great men and women models in my life that cared for me, and teachers. And, it only takes one. It takes one adult to care, and kids just want to be seen. They just want to be heard. And so many times I don't know, there's so many messages. I feel like that I see so many when I was a youth pastor, I saw so many adults like speak down to, like, they weren't intelligent enough, and I tell you what, they asked me some questions that I was just like, holy cow, like they just are really intelligent beings. And we don't, I think, give sometimes teenagers enough credit. And so kind of in that realm, as you work with girls, what are kind of I'm going to ask you kind of both sides, the law of polarity. What are 3 themes that you see that teen girls are struggling with right now? And then what are 3 things that you feel like maybe a little bit of a shift from previous generations? Like you talked about, you're kind of in this next generation, when you look at the gap of time in between the clients that you're working with. So those themes that you're seeing that girls are struggling with now, and then the opposite of that.
For sure. Okay. So I think like a big one can be under that umbrella of self-esteem, confidence, that continues to show up. It's like it's stands the test of time, if you will.
Yeah.
That one there, but just like those thoughts and those beliefs that we hold that are either holding us back or pulling us away from the kind of person we actually want to be and the kind of life we want to live. I see a lot of that stuff. I think stuff around body image and weight or beauty. I know that's another big umbrella one. Just this whole idea and social media, the way that it portrays that, it's a whole other ball game from when I grew up, and that was a very different kind of connection. The other one, and I think this is specific to perhaps the times that we're living in, but is just feeling connected to others and connected to something. I think with the isolation that's happened, or the different things around like lockdowns and learning virtually and these types of things, they've really impacted teens' ability to feel like connected to others or to a purpose or meaning. These are some big things that I've been seeing.
Yeah. And Chantel, thank you for sharing that. And it's sad in some ways. The first 2 that well, actually all 3, but the first 2 that you talked about were themes that I saw too years ago. I mean, this was 15 years ago that I was working with youth, and it's unfortunate that that's still there, the body shaming and some of those types of things. And when you look at connection, I'm just curious, up in Calgary, were they still going to school, or were they doing virtual school?
Yes, it's a little bit all over the map. Actually, I have some teens that are choosing to do virtual. I have some teens where they're within their school board, it's been like an option or a hybrid. And then I have some teens that are going to school, but if there are, cases of COVID that come up, then they have to go into isolation periods. And so it's kind of this on and off thing. You don't know what you're going to get. It leaves people with a lot of uncertainty, which I think is anxiety provoking.
Yeah. It is. Well, and kind of when we talk about anxiety, I think about, the word faith means a lot of different things. And there can be, faith can be a spiritual component. For me, that's God. It could be universe, whatever. And then there's also this idea of faith, of just trusting to take that next step. And I know during COVID, I have a lot of friends that are therapists and psychologists, and talking to them about how busy they've been, because it's been a strain on everyone, and how sometimes it's just about helping people see what that next step is, not
Mm.
10 steps down the road, but just that next step, and having faith that taking that next step will lead you to the next step. Have you seen that in your practice?
Yeah, yeah, that term really speaks to me. When I think of faith, I think about um, living with purpose and living
Mm,
with meaning. And so oftentimes in the work with teens, I try and find their spark, or
yeah,
the thing that lights them up, the thing that they feel passionate about, whether that's like a social justice cause, whether that's a personality trait, like I'm a very empathetic person, or I'm a very
mhm,
caring person, or whether that's like a thing that they do, a skill, and just kind of see how that lights them up and talk about living life with purpose. What does that look like for them? What would they be doing? Who would they
yeah.
be spending time with? And really kind of creating that image so that they want to move towards that and not away from that.
Yeah. So kind of in that same realm, Chantel, I'm going to focus a little bit on you. So you talked earlier a little bit about the reason behind wanting to work with teens and youth. What was the switch for you, other than the creativity piece that you talked about? What was the switch for you that made you decide to go into your business and gave you the confidence to step out and do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm constantly on this kind of journey of personal and professional growth, and so that was certainly a part of it. Over the last few years, I've seen myself kind of shifting towards this place of really living a life of purpose and meaning,
Mm,
and finding out what that means for me. I was volunteering with some youth organizations, and I coached my son's ball hockey team at one point, which is kind of, if you know me as the shy Chantal, that's kind of unheard of. But I put myself out there, and every time I did that, I was terrified and I loved it. And so part of doing this practice and doing getting out there and being more visible, if you will, was about that, owning my life and living a life. Because if I'm not modeling it, then how am I going to
mm.
teach it? If I'm not modeling it, how am I going to ask our youth to be doing that?
Yeah, that's great, Chantel. And so when you think about, like, for myself and for the listeners that are listening to this, if you
Mhm.
could say to us, here's my advice on how you can model for this next generation, whether it be boys or girls, right? But like, what can we do as a society to model healthy connection, to model healthy body image, to model healthy self-esteem?
Yeah. Um, the journey that I've been on is about doing it from a place of love. I
Mm,
feel like love and authenticity are kind of my two big things that I carry forward every day. And so if I've loved, I know that I'm on the right track. So that includes loving myself, loving others, loving the world. Uh, so when it comes to modeling, I think if you do it from a place of love and authenticity, you can't go wrong. Like, there are specifics of what that could look like, but I think just like that overall kind of value of love and authenticity can be a place to model from.
yeah, and Chantel, thank you, because actually it's interesting. That's my philosophy on leadership too, is that you love people. That's why you're a leader. And that I believe there's love and fear. And I
Mm-hmm.
try to come from a place of love, which when you're coming from a place of love, automatically brings up authenticity and automatically brings up vulnerability and that ability to be humble, but yet confident. And so when you think about, if I say to you, because I see
Mm-hmm.
you as a leader, right? You're a leader in your industry as far as really focusing on teen girls. You lead these teen girls through a process of self-discovery. How do you see yourself as a leader?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, I was thinking about that whole idea. I feel like I've had to, like a reptile, kind of like shed a lot of
Mm,
layers and beliefs that said, leadership is something that other people are doing. Being
mhm.
a leader is that person, not me. I'm not a leader. I really had to shed a lot of those beliefs and limitations in order to kind of come from a place of saying, actually, I can lead. I can be a part of that. And what it really comes down to for me is about, again, I know I said this already, but this idea of like living with purpose. And
Yeah.
so my purpose is, to help teen girls, and while I'm doing that, love them and love love everyone kind of fiercely. That's what I want to do. And so I just keep reminding myself of this purpose, and that's how I believe I show up as a leader.
That's fantastic. And Chantel, I don't know, part of the leadership training that I do is around servant leadership. And there are 10 characteristics that, well, Robert Greenleaf coined the term servant leader, and Larry Spears created 10 characteristics from the writings that Robert Greenleaf did. And one of them is empathy. One of them is healing. So helping others heal, the commitment to the growth of people. And I think about that. And then there's also one which is persuasion or influence, right? Because as leaders, we influence. And I think about the influence and the impact that you're having on these teen girls, which will eventually be, powerful women in the world and mothers, and, bringing the next generation forward. And my hat's off to you, because I know sometimes it's trying work when you work with teens, but I see the fulfillment when you talk about it. And so it's so fun to see you in your lane of genius. And, just to even when I met Chantel back in Tucson in January, and just to even see the metamorphosis that's happened with you over the last few months as you've continued to step into your purpose, it's just a really beautiful thing to see. So I'm really glad.
That.
Yeah,
no worries. It does feel different. It feels different in so many ways, like on an energetic level. It is a transformation, and I want to continue to walk that path.
Yeah, which is such a great model, as a role model to not only the girls, but I see that even in the group that we're involved in. So Chantel, thank you so much for spending the last 15 or 20 minutes with us. And if someone were to want to get a hold of you to find out more information about what you do, where would you send them?
I think probably the best place to go is my website, which is www.pyramidpsychology.com, or I'm on Instagram as well under Therapy with Chantel.
Perfect. And we'll put the website in the notes. So if people want to go there, I do have to tell you, you made me grin, because I'm launching, well, by the time this comes out, it will have launched a group program similar to about finding your purpose. And it's really about helping people pivot in existing businesses, or to figure out if they're in a transition, kind of what's that next step, and potentially monetizing that into a business. And it's called Spark Your Passion, Ignite Your Life. And so when you were talking about sparking, and igniting things, and I was like, oh, good, my verbiage is okay.
It finds a way, right? There's a magnetism in everything.
It does. So thank you so much. And for those of you listening, this is Debbie Heiser. If you would like to find out more about the group program I just talked about, or how to work with me, you can go to www, and it's all spelled out, 3V as in Victor, consulting.com. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks again, Chantel. I appreciate it.
Thank you.